Welcome to another edition of The Void in association with Link Sports. Link, share, play. On today's show, we've got an esteemed guest, Ryan Jenkins, 12 times national champion of Wales. I don't know where to start with his list of things, but national champion, #1, national coach, director of football. You put all these English guys to shame, Ryan. We have Darren Blake. I was just going to mention that he had a very successful career at junior and cadet level, but he was actually England's senior #3. So Darren can let me off the hook now. We've got Terry Young, who, along with winning many titles, including Commonwealth gold medals, he was the finalist in the US Open. We have Gareth Herbert, who was former England #1. Sorry to mention that, Terry, but he was. And we've got Darius Knight, who was no less than world junior gold medalist. He's got some other titles, but we won't bother with those because anyone that's got a world junior medalist, a world junior medal is quite a big guy in table tennis. Isn't that right, Darius?
Sometimes.
Okay, good. So we're going to start off this session today with our esteemed guests naming their top 5 players of the last few generations, so about 30 years, and they're all from England. So why don't we start with Terence Young, who can tell us who his top 5 are. Starting from #5, Terence.
Starting from #5. So I've got joint at #5 at the minute. I'm going to stick Drinkle and Pitchford joint. Drinkle because he's won 2 Opens, and Pitchford because he's made 12 in the world. And obviously it's difficult because they're both not quite finished yet. So I'm going to stick them. Then at 4...
We don't want you to start arguing with yourself, Terry.
No,
we could
4, I've got Prino. Carl Preen. He was 18 in the world, won Brazilian Open and another Open. I can't remember the other one, but yeah.
Ironman Open?
Well, sorry, what was that?
Hungarian.
Was it Hungarian? I thought it was another one, but yeah, anyway.
White Open.
Okay, but yeah, the Brazilian Open was his biggest one, I think. And then above him, I've got Said, who was 22 in the world, won 3 Commonwealth gold medals, the Czech Open, again, another Pro Tour event that he won, and was #1 in England for, I would say, around about between 7 years and a decade.
I'll make sure you get money, Terry.
And then above him, which is a bit of a controversial one, because these 2 for me are probably head and shoulders above everyone else, is Desmond Douglas and Chen Xinhua. Now, Chen, obviously, he was #3 in the world, but he wasn't when he was playing for England. I think he was top 10, but he won numerous medals for China. And obviously Desmond Douglas, who's probably my favourite player from England, was 7 in the world, won the European top 12, and also just an amazing player. I don't think I've ever seen anyone other than him play the way that he does. So, yeah, quite remarkable, really. So, yeah, that's my top 5.
Thanks for that, Terry. We're going to move on to Welshman Ryan Jenkins. I know this is going to hurt you, but tell us who your top 5 English players are of the last few generations. And if you want to stick in a couple of Welsh guys, please feel free to do that.
No, I think I'll stick to English. And I'm going to go Alan Cook, #5. English champion 6 times. Obviously, quarter-final Europeans, 1990. When he came back last, 64 the Euros. When he's come back, World Vest champ, European team silver, 92, World Cup bronze, 1990. Highest rank.
Oh, he won European silver team with yours truly.
That's right, you were there. And
no one mentioned you.
I wasn't there, I was part of the team.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
top ranking 27. So #4, Lisa Lomas, 1992 European silver, 4 times English champion. I'm not sure of her highest world ranking, but got to fit Lisa in there. #4. #3, Matthew Said, already mentioned by Terry, so I don't have to go over his achievements. #2, Carl Preen, last 16 Olympic Games, Barcelona, world ranking #18, the best. And I haven't put Des in simply because you said last 30 years and from 1990 to 2020. So I haven't put Des in because his best years were before that. So number one, Liam Pitchford.
Very, very interesting.
Number one. Did you put number one, Liam Pitchford?
Yeah,
Yes.
fair dues.
Big difference to you, Ted. What?
Damn.
Yeah, the
Jesus.
new generation will be very happy with that. I'm avoiding Terry getting into a discussion with any of you. Darren Blake, you're next. Who are your top 5 in reverse order?
Right, you're confusing me now, mate. Talking in reverse orders. Okay, I've got Matt Syed at number 5.
Right.
Top player, number 22 in the world, as the guys say. Played with him a lot. Unbelievable results. Great to watch as well. Number 4, I've actually got Prino, who was 18 in the world. Very difficult player. I trained with him a lot, actually, Prino. I used to go up to his place a lot and train for a week, and he was an unbelievable player.
Okay.
I actually had 3 at Liam. Obviously, I haven't seen him as much as some of the other guys live or anything, but from what I've seen, great player. To be number 12 in the world, brilliant player. And then, yeah, like the guys say, with Chen, it's a difficult one because, like I said, his best were in China, but he was still top 10. I watched him a lot, and he was a great player. So I've got him at number 2, and then Des at number 1. And Des just really, because just what he could do, the way he used to play, how he built up. When you just look at that national title list, how many did he have in a row? It was ridiculous, wasn't it?
12 in total, wasn't it?
12, yeah, and he just was undefeated. You'll remember, Sky, what he was like. So that's my order. Other ones that could have mentioned, Cookie, Drinkle, Lisa Lomas were the other ones I was sort of thinking about. And then
Sky?
even you were in there.
Sky in there, Blakey?
Sky written him down, 57 in the world, eh? Terry said you're 60, but I think you're 57. But yeah,
You're
that's
talking about
I didn't say he was 60. I heard today he was 60.
No, it's 57, Yanni.
I didn't say you were.
Tell him straight, mate. Boom.
Next we have the king of TT, the 50 Cent of South London, right, Darius Knight.
The 50 pence piece.
Yeah, I'm going to go back 50 pence in my bank account, actually. All right, gentlemen, mine's going to be a little bit different. Mine's going to be for things that...
Darius,
yeah.
Let me give you the talk. Darius, listen, a lot of people will be calling you 25 pence, but we know you're 50 Cent, right? Don't let anyone call you 25
I ain't been shot
right?
9 times yet, so, you know, hey. Anyway, gentlemen, so I don't have an order.
Tell us your top 5 in reverse order.
Got to go in order, mate. You got to go in order.
Okay, and I don't so number 5 would be Jenkins. I'll tell you why. No, I'll tell you why. Because obviously, no, because I don't.
I thought he was English anyway.
No, British.
No, British.
You're in, Jenk. I tell you why. No, because for me, is that as grown up as a player, when you beat Ryan Jenkins, you know you're becoming a good player. So for me, is that I don't know the Cheng Zhonghua, the Desmond Douglas. It's very difficult for me to put them in. It's like me reading history.
You can't put me against people like that.
No. Can I explain?
Top 30 in the world.
Doesn't matter. Can I explain why?
Yeah,
I'm not. I don't know that. I don't know that. I never saw that. So for me, is that my respect's going to be completely different. I'm just in my era. You know, when you beat Ryan Jenkins, for example, when I'm playing, Terry, Gareth, all those other guys, they stopped before I could get to them. When you beat them, you know you're becoming a good player. I remember.
It's all about you, Darius.
Pardon?
I said it's all about you. It's who you played.
Yeah. So piss off, guys. Let me talk. TK time. Yeah. So Jenkins is 5. For me, after that would be Prino, because I worked with him a little bit, and I learned. For me, I learned about that he wasn't the most talented guy, but he used the best out of his ability, and I think if I used that as a player, I would have been, obviously a much better player. So I mean, I don't know everybody's history. I'm not going to get into everybody's history. I'm just talking about what I saw around me. The other one would be Gareth Herbert, only because I never saw somebody have such amazing serves. I remember asking him in Nottingham, let me return your serves, and I didn't return one. So that inspired me to have, better serves. After that, obviously, very easily I would put, Paul and Liam, but it doesn't matter what order for me because I'm quite close to both of them, but more so because Liam is being the best 2 players in the world, and I don't know anyone in tables that's done it, so I could easily put Liam as my number 1. Paul, just because I grew up with him, and just seeing the history of him and how he's just led the scene. And then for me, it's Matthew Side. Probably not number one, but somewhere near there, because he's a defender. I've never seen a defender that can't attack. That he didn't glue up. He had used Shriver. And when I look at the defenders today, and you see like what they've got, how they can attack just as good as your top spin players, I think, wow, this guy's really done really well to get to where he's got to. So for my top 5, it's not necessarily in any order, but it's more just it relates to me.
That's six players.
I was going to say there's 6 players in there.
Yeah, I can't count. Well, if I was going to take one out,
Get off the champagne.
Finish, mate. And there's no top up. I haven't got
Darius, so Darius,
Herbie or Jenkins, eh?
okay, Darius, can we nail you to say who is your number 1 at least? Who is the best player of the last 3 generations? Give us your number 1.
But I don't know the 3
You're
generations.
confusing us with all your chat.
No, but out of that 6 you mentioned, who was number
Out of
one?
the 6, give me
Who's
number 1.
number 1? On peak performances, then it's got to be Liam.
Okay, he's the GOAT, is he?
Yeah. That's
Well,
2 for
today,
Liam.
currently, yeah,
2 for Liam.
yeah.
Fair
Okay,
dues.
good. Finally, Gareth Herbert, who's put the Void together and who is the main man who doesn't sleep, cutting and editing videos of the Void and talking to Darren Blake for 18 hours a day. What's your top 5 in reverse order?
Okay, I've gone Carl Preen, number 5. Same reasons as everyone else, really. Very unorthodox, just quality player. Very, very good. The next 2 could be in any order, to be honest. I've gone Matt Syed. I've gone Matt, for me, the best player ever to watch. I think, when you go to Pro Tours and so forth, his matches were the best ones. So I'll go Matt. Just on what Liam is doing now and what I believe he will do in the future, I'll put him at number 3. It's difficult because he's the only person in my top 5 who's still playing. So he can move up or down that order, depending if he progresses or he stagnates. Des Douglas, number 2. 2 European top 12s. Number 7 in the world. And obviously, me growing up, it was Jim Stokes, who coached me, and Terry was a person that he asked for me to follow and to watch, and I did. And I remember watching him live for the first time. It was absolutely amazing. And then I've gone Chen Xinhua, again, similar to what Terry said, really, but on top of that, he actually won the Chinese national championships as well, singles, in 1981. So I'm not sure if there's a player that's ever represented England that would go on to win the Chinese national titles. In fact, he won the singles and doubles that year and got runner-up in the mixed doubles as well. He's got world titles to his name as well, and world medals.
He's called Jai. He's called Jai and got information from Jai.
I spoke to Jai about it not too long ago, actually.
He's called Jai.
I did. So, yeah, that's my order.
Thank you. And so let's have a little discussion about that. Are there any people in those lists that any of you vehemently disagree with?
Yeah.
I mean, it's difficult because Darius's reasons are different than everyone else's, because Darius has only been playing for, in the last decade, I would say. So, I mean, I understand his reasons behind, obviously, Jenkins. I mean, Jenkins has had a ridiculous career. I mean, for someone who's come from Wales and lasted playing at a good level for probably, I can remember him probably about 60, so the last 22, 23 years of playing to a good standard. So I get that, but I suppose that's the only thing, because Darius, no disrespect to Darius, but his knowledge in the last 30 years is very little. But I understand
about that, Darius.
why.
Terry says your knowledge is very little. Do you agree with
Yeah,
him?
over 30 years.
Yeah, of course it is. But
No,
I mean,
I'm talking to Darius now.
yeah, of course I agree. But obviously, for me, the great playing tables today, the last 10 years, if you beat Ryan Jenkins in a tournament when you were like 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, you're becoming a good player. That was
But
the
is that a
poster,
reason, though?
because
Is that a
all
reason,
of
Darius? Seriously.
hang on, because all of the other players, they were lazy and they gave up too early. The Darren, the Terrys, the Gareths. I'm having a bit of a dig now, but you know what I mean. So for me, that these guys didn't think about helping the young ones. They just thought, sod you lot. I'm gonna live on and do my life. So for me,
Maybe they're the clever ones.
yeah, probably. I'm having a laugh now. But
Guy,
yeah.
did you choose a top 5?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, I've got my top 5, yeah?
Go on.
Yeah, go on then.
Number 1 is Des. Number 2 is Lisa Lomas. Number 3 is Chen. Number 4 is Prino. And number 5 is Cook and Syed.
See, the only reason I didn't include Des, because I thought it was the last 30 years, and Des in the 90s and 2000s, obviously, he was gone by 95 was his last Worlds.
I know, but he was still fucking ridiculous at 90.
I saw him in 95. He beat Luo Liang, didn't he, in the team event? I was at that Worlds. I watched him. He was pulled in last minute because Syed had his finals with the university. He's pulled in and played for 12 months, whatever, and then beat Luo Liang. And Luo Liang went on to be running
to get to the final. He got to the final, didn't he?
I mean,
he lost to
Darius, you was the only person to name Ryan Jenkins in your top 5. Sounds a bit controversial. Does anybody agree with Ryan Jenkins being in the top 5 greatest British players of the last 30 years?
And Darius,
I don't care about 30 years. I'm not talking about 30 years because then I'll be sitting there reading from Google. I'm not interested in Google.
Based off, I mean, we know the players. So obviously, I mean, Jenks, like Terry said, was a great player. I played you loads, didn't I, Jenks? But we couldn't have him in there. But I can see exactly where Darius. If Darius goes off the players,
stop sitting on the fence, Mike.
No, listen to me. I'm saying we can't have him in ours because we know the players. Based off who Darius played, then yeah, if Darius is going off who he's seen play, he'd be up there, wouldn't he? You'd put people like Alex in there as well, Alex Perry. You'd put some other boys in there as well, and then you'd start to have a discussion about is Jenkins still in the top 5 out of the players that Darius has seen play.
Okay, but for me, it's okay. If I look on YouTube and I watch Des play back in there, I'm thinking, what the hell is this? I mean, you know, like I don't understand this. You know, little.
I know. Do you know?
I played Des when we were in Nottingham. When we were in Nottingham, Darius, I used to train with Des. Yeah, when I was,
mate,
I was playing Worlds and everything, and I still couldn't get a game off him, mate.
Darius, let me explain to you one thing. When I was growing up, I looked at Des and I just see him used to win tournaments. Yeah. It didn't look like he really did much. And then you played against him. It was like he would just twist you around like you were playing Twister. And this is no disrespect. I'm pretty confident in saying that probably someone like even Drinkle would at Des's best would probably lose 9 times out of 10.
Yeah,
he's just a pig of a player.
But we don't know that. We don't know that.
No. I'm telling you because I've played against most. I played against Paul when he was pretty good. Maybe not at his best, but the one thing that Des struggled with is people with good serves. And Drinkle's he's a very good open game, but Des was unbelievable, mate. Let me tell you, he was ridiculous. One of the most awkward people to play against.
Sky, I was wondering why you put Lisa at number 2 because you know her more than any of us.
Lisa. My next question was, you must be a mind reader because I was gonna say, what about the females? And I was gonna ask the question: if Jill Hammersley Parker was allowed into this conversation, where would you guys put her? Because she's one of the greatest table tennis players of all time in the UK, full stop.
Oh, she'd be right up there.
I think she'd probably, to be honest, she'd probably
Looking at Darius's point, it's the reverse for us. So I never saw Jill Hammersley play when she was at her best. So I couldn't put her anywhere.
She was European number 1.
Based off her results. Based off her results, she's one or two, she's in the top 3 for sure.
That goes away. That goes more on looking at results. If that's the case, then we should just go by a ranking list now.
But it is difficult for Darius because it's like John Hilton. I watched John Hilton play for years as a veteran. I couldn't imagine.
John when I was a kid.
I couldn't imagine. He was European champion, wasn't he? He was amazing, wasn't he, back in the day? But
1980.
I couldn't imagine that watching him and playing him. But so I can see how it's not easy for Darius. Yeah. Unless you've experienced it. I know with people.
There's no YouTube guys.
Don't feel sorry for Darius, Darren. Don't start feeling sorry for Darius. Darius has always got plenty to say. Ryan, you asked me about Lisa Lomas. Lisa Lomas for a decade was around the top 12 in the European ladies. She was, I think she got to the final of the Europeans. She was competing on roughly the same level as Des for a period in terms of what she did on the ladies and what Des was doing on the men. So that's why I put Lisa in. Moving on, let's talk about changes in table tennis over the last few generations. The obvious one is glue. Now, when I played, obviously before the First World War, as you guys know, glue was a major thing. People would be gluing up and putting their bit of glue on the rubber and on the bat and coming out and hitting unbelievable shots. I enjoyed that period. I used to enjoy the noise, even when they were playing against me.
Yeah.
So, so how many of you guys think, how many of you guys have played in the era of glue? Who played in the era of glue?
Terry, do you want to explain about glue if you like glue? Speak glue.
Yeah, he was an
artist. I think
artist.
Terry loved a bit of
Go on,
speak.
Yeah,
Cecil.
I mean, I must admit, when me and Herbie were coached by Stokes, Jim Stokes, he didn't want me to use glue for a long period of time. I remember I went to a tournament. I can't remember exactly where it was. It was either Worcester or Winchester. Anyway, I went there and Douglas was playing. I think Cook was there.
You won it, yeah.
Yeah, and they were the noise that came off their bat and the way that it done something to the ball, the way that it dipped. Anyway, I remember there was a table tennis stand there, and there was, I think it was called Volcaflux, or it was a yellow tin, and I bought a tin for about £5, and I went and put it on the bat. Anyway, that was me hooked then ever since. I was only about, I think I was about 13 at the time, and the difference it made to the bat was unbelievable. And then I just carried on using it, and Jim Stokes allowed me. But yeah, it was I thought it was a great period using glue. I enjoyed it, and I didn't really see the reason why they. It was only a matter of time before they.
Focused on Sel's face when he used to be gluing up, man. He used to just, it was like a work of art. But it was it was ridiculous, wasn't it? I mean, the stuff that what it used to do to the rubbers as well, you just couldn't. They were.
I used to love it when they used to curl up. And I used to go, and the pimples came out.
For those that didn't know about gluing up, Jakes, did you glue up?
I did.
So tell us the process. Tell us the process of gluing up.
So it depended, I guess, how fast you wanted it. So you could put a number of layers, but every layer you had to let dry and then put on another layer. And
or just put a wet one on and let it dry for a couple of hours.
I mean,
Bryce is splitting.
The problem is
that split on the Bryce.
Oh, the split.
You were the man.
Anyway, James, carry on, please.
But the rubbers obviously used to expand and used to cut them, and then obviously there'd be a problem when it shrunk back down. So we used to try and stretch them out, and they were, it was carnage really when you thought about it, because you had to get it. In the end, you had to glue up every single round.
It was a joke.
So you were playing, shooting off outside or changing rooms, gluing up back in, and if you didn't get it right, it just drop off your bat. So it was
different in winning games or not, wasn't it?
It is, yeah. And you're like, shall I glue up for the next match? I bet I'd, because if I don't, then I lose. I'll obviously rue that decision. But those kangaroo sheets came out then, which were horrendous.
Oh, they were shocking.
No, I never used them actually.
Oh, they were shocking.
But as a coach, you go back and think coaches at the time were introducing youngsters to
crazy.
A room full of people gluing up with gas masks and all this sort of stuff came out eventually when the health risks came to the forefront. And it was, it's a good move at the end of the day, because
So Gareth, you were someone that used to put a couple of tins on your backhand and a couple of tins on your forehand. Do you think that gluing up was good for table tennis or bad for table tennis?
Other than the health, the risk to health, I didn't think it was bad for table tennis at all. You get some more. You had more explosive shots that seemed impossible were suddenly possible. So I don't think it was bad for table tennis at all, really, to be honest. Apart
is that good for table tennis, Herbie, the speed of your shots, because it's less rallies?
Look at it now. If you watch
look at it now, Blake.
If you watch an old match with speed glue and then watch a match now, it's not really much slower. I think the most amazing result, though, I got to tell you a result that was the best ever of all time, was Ali Subhan. We went to Cadet Six Nations, and Ali Subhan, who was a Kingfisher player, was number 3 in the team. I was number 1, Christian Thompson number 2, and Ali Subhan number 3. None of us gluing up, and he beat Timo Boll. Timo Boll tocking up to the hilt, and Ali Subban with his pea shooters with no glue. And
Alex Subban beat Timo Boll.
Unbelievable. That's the only match he won. It's the only match he won in the whole competition.
That's illegal.
Darius, so the authorities decided to get rid of the glue. So no one was allowed to hit these rockets anymore, as Des Douglas used to call them. He used to just call them rockets. What's your opinion? So once they took away the glue, was it better for table tennis?
Obviously, like, I'm like half human or half glue, half not glue. So for me, is that yeah, I enjoy the art of gluing, putting on wet lays the night before, pimples coming out, shining, trying to split my Bryce, could never do it. Didn't have enough muscle, didn't have technique, you know, whatever it is. But obviously, the optimizing, I started at 18. So I remember playing my first Europeans, and I played a top 12, European top 12, and I came like, I was senior number 2 and came like 10th because me and Paul were playing seniors, and we just didn't know how to really optimize. And, you know, in this optimize, you do it, and like the glue would last for like a week or 2. So it was like kind of like a good, like a big change. So I mean, for me, it's obviously when you look at time productiveness and this time value, it's amazing. You just turn up to practice. You can 10 minutes before. Before, when I was a kid, I used to come to the hall, see Terry, Gareth gluing. One guy was be tipping the Fairtrack or Fairtrack Light, you know, on blue, and then gluing it, £6 for a tin. It's expensive. And I think I've still got a big liter of Fairtrack as well. So I just kept it just for my memory. So for me, of course, it's good for the sport. For me, of course, it's good for the sport because you just spend less time. You prep your bat. You know your bat's gonna last you for 2 or 3 weeks now until the rubbers get old. So for me, it's amazing. You know, obviously you've got to get it right. It took me a long time to get it right. So for me, of course, it's better for the sport. I think the rubbers have changed as well, but it's just not. I won't say just as fast, but still fast. But I think it's a good move for the sport. People are now just, you know, turn up to work 5 to 10 minutes early rather than half an hour before, and then in the break, gluing up again, and then this rubber's crap, then peeling up the glue off the rubber, and then putting 3 layers.
Yeah, we get a picture.
My formula was,
peeling off the glue was ridiculous.
yeah, I remember my formula was 3 layers, 3 layers, put it on, and then like the night before, and then obviously play the next day, and then obviously every time just put 1 or 2 layers, and it was like a thin layer. Oh, it's just crazy.
Jesus, how many layers did you have, Darius?
Mate, do you know what I think the problem with the glue was? It was very difficult to be consistent with it, to get the same effect. You'd have it once, so one day it'd be amazingly fast, and then the next day it'd just be a little bit less, so you'd have a bit more control. That was the problem for me. I think I got a bit excited with the glue, and it was so up and down. It was like, for me, it was like a work of art, but it wasn't consistent. You know,
being in Denmark with you, used to go up and down and up and down and across and across.
Guys, the difficult thing with the glue was, if you got it wrong and you went onto the table, there was no way out for you. I've literally seen players that glued up badly, and they would lose like 6 and 7 or 10 and 11.
Yeah, not letting it dry.
If you stuck it on too wet, it would just drop off.
Yeah, crazy.
So one word answers: glue or no glue? Terry.
Glue.
Jenks.
No glue.
Blakey.
No glue.
Herbie. What was that, Herbie?
Glue.
Yes.
Darius.
No glue.
Aha. 3-2, guys.
Skyler.
Herbie and Terry got one there.
Sky.
Okay, guys.
Sky,
we're going to move on.
What would you go for?
Well, me, I'm going to level things up and say glue.
Yes.
Let's move on to another change, what was quite significant, and that was the size of the ball. Now, the authorities changed the size of the ball in order to encourage less spin and more rallies. So, James, let's come to you first. What's your opinion about the change in the size of ball, and has it had any effect?
Yeah, it has had an effect. I think the manufacturers got it wrong for many years with the new ball. The quality wasn't good enough. It was breaking when you top edged it. Yeah, big problems as well with the plastic ball. But yeah, the 38mm, I played with one very recently, and the difference in speed and rotation on the ball is phenomenal. So it's a shame. I think they should have stayed to 38mm, in my opinion.
So what's the difference, Jenks, now?
Just it's just faster. Obviously, there's more spin you can put on the ball. It feels like you're playing with a marble. In effect, it's just so small compared to what we're used to now.
Wow.
Feels like like a beach ball we're playing with now.
Wow.
But it's
Gareth, have you experienced different size balls and keep it clean?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it has made a difference, the bigger ball. I just don't think it was as big as they thought it was going to be. I remember when they increased the size of the ball. I think it was the French Open, the first one that I went to with a bigger ball. And it did look like clay court tennis. It was a lot slower. But I think as everyone sort of evolved technique, taking the ball even earlier, it's much more physical, the shots now, much more body, much more weight behind the shots. I think I don't think it's like neither here nor there anymore. I think at the start it was. So I don't think, whilst it might be slightly better to watch maybe because it's bigger, I don't think it's made the impact that was expected, to be honest.
Darius, have you been someone that's played with all different size balls?
Yeah, but obviously at my novice level, I play with a smaller ball. I think if I look at the difference kind of thing, I think it made the average players a little bit better, made it a bit more even playing field.
How was that then?
Pardon?
How did it make the average players better?
Because normally when you're doing a third ball attack or your serves kind of thing, people before couldn't return. So people that had good serves, it means that it went down a little bit. People are able to just put it on. You've got to play more shots to get the ball past the person. So for me, is that I felt the difference just even in my latest career when the ball became 40 plus. My reverse serve wasn't as good. But obviously I could play it back in a bit more. So I mean, for me is that I would say it's better because obviously it's just a bit more of an even playing field. But obviously having the smaller ball, I felt there was obviously there's clearly a lot more skill involved. I think at that time it was the fastest racket sport. Now I think badminton overtook it when the ball became 40 plus. So it's always cool to say we're the fastest racket sport when we're playing. So yeah, I mean it is what it is. I think obviously it's a good move for the sport. Obviously it being bigger and more people can play. Because if you see now, there's more kind of what's the word? Some players can be better players. If before with a smaller ball, you had to really be skillful. But obviously, I can't really talk very much because I didn't play long enough or play with the smaller ball, long enough to really know putting a massive hook in or all those kind of things. But I just remember that.
Darren, you did you play with the bigger ball?
Played with the bigger ball. They changed. I don't know what they're like now because they sort of changed again, haven't they? But when it definitely changed when we were playing.
Right.
And it was right. Yeah, it was definitely slower, less spin. But you did adapt to it in the end.
How did it affect your game?
So again,
how did it affect your game, Darren? How did it affect your game?
Because I was about serves and getting in the forehand, and I was about that smaller ball, getting extra spin on the serve, hitting off the bounce all the time with no backhand. So it definitely was harder for me to work harder. It's interesting because I know exactly why they tried to change the ball to get the rallies up, but is that what's really what you needed, or is it more like making the net higher? Is it making the table slightly bigger? Do you know what I mean? I think that probably would have had a bigger effect on the sport itself if you wanted to get more rallies in it rather than
the thing with making the tables bigger is that you make millions of tables obsolete.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Terry, what's your view?
Well, I'm a bit biased, to be honest. I'm similar to Blakey. I think it made a massive impact on my game. I mean, I was probably, out of all of the people, probably the most offensive, I would say, because I was very much forehand dominated. I had an okay backhand, but my serve and my forehand were my major kind of weapon. And when they changed the ball, it did make a big difference. The other difference, which obviously I don't want to get into too much detail, was the two serves, because when you're doing that as well you've got.
We're coming on to that in a minute.
Yeah, but that with the ball and that, which came at very close proximity in timing, it was like a kick in the nutsack, if I'm honest, because it changed the dynamic for me, mentally more than anything.
Did anyone find the bounce though?
Sorry, Jenko?
Did anyone find that the bounce was not as
Yeah,
true with the
to
40?
start with, the bounce was really awkward and difficult. But what I did find is I started to get used to it. But the one tournament that the quality of the balls were better were in Japan. They had, I think, TSP and Nataku. It might have been just Nataku. The quality of the ball, because everyone was saying at that event. I think Herbie had a great tournament at that event. I played okay, pretty well, but most of the guys were saying that the quality was much better, because with the bigger ball, there seemed to be a lot of issues with soft spots. So the ball would drop off a bounce; it wouldn't bounce properly. So we adapted to it as players, but they did have an issue with the ball quality, I think, and there was only a few.
Did any of you guys play through the Dunlop ball era?
No.
No, I've used Dunlop balls, but I never played. That was probably just before I started playing.
Okay, one word answers: small balls or big balls? Jenks.
Small.
Darren.
Oh.
Darius.
Big.
Herbie.
Small.
Terry.
Small.
Small has it. Small has it.
Guy.
So, me, I'll balance it up with whoever had less. So big balls.
Hey.
Next topic is one of the biggest changes that was made in table tennis, and that was going from best of 5 up to 21 in the singles, down to best of 7 up to 11, going from 5 serves to 2 serves. And I can tell you from my own experience that I would have hated playing with 2 serves, because I needed 5 serves to absolutely frustrate my opponent and twist them up like Herbie used to. So let's go to Herbie first of all. Herbie, did you play in the best of 5 up to 21 era?
Yeah.
And then you saw the change to up to 11, 2 serves each?
Yeah.
7?
When did it come in? Was it 2001 he came in?
Just after Osaka, wasn't it? Yeah, 2001. 2001, yeah. I'm the same as you, Sky. I found that if you had 5 serves, you can play the game a little bit. Sometimes a couple of easier ones to get them used to it. False sense of security. Send certain ones in at certain times. When you got
so you serve first. Like
Sorry?
you, I watched you play a few times where if you serve first and you was bamboozling people, you'd absolutely knock their confidence.
Yeah. You go 4-1 up. Just technically, I just need 2 on the return. 6-4. Then I got my serves again. I only need 3 now. So you know what I mean. I don't need to keep getting 4. But yeah, serving first often went.
You're too nice, Herbie. I would tell you need 5.
Yeah, but I agree with what you said, Sky. I think I needed the 5 serves just to play the game a little bit, the trickery. When you're 16-9 up, I could serve to make them look quite similar, but not put much spin on it, make them believe that the receiver's getting better. And the action wasn't too dissimilar. But then start of the next game, you chuck them in again, and then suddenly you're 4-1 up again. They're thinking, what's going on?
What a Jedi!
You can play that game, but with 2 serves, it took about 2 years to get used to that.
Oh, Herbie, you're a bad guy. You're a really horrible guy.
That's it though, isn't
disgusting.
it? It's that trickery to make them feel like I'm getting it now. I understand what he's doing. When actually you just take it off.
Darren, what's your view? Because your game was very much giving in the little kickers and the little serves and all that. How did 5 serves?
It depends on how you're looking at it. As a player, 5 serves was, for me again, because it was all about the serves. I mean, I remember you'd have your little backspin, you'd have your little topspin, you'd have your little kick, you'd have your little fast one with a bit of backspin on, and you just couldn't do that the same with 2. You know what I mean? You couldn't just bring that fast serve out when it was just 2, because it was just not the same as when you had 5 different elements of serves. At the same time, I would imagine as playing the actual sport, when you think back going up to 21, bloody long, wasn't it? When you think back now, up to 21, if you're losing like 16-7 and you just had to carry on the game, you know what I mean? Well, at least 11 was like, if it was 7-3, game's over, because it.
The amazing thing with someone like Waldner, that Waldner had 5 serves, and Waldner would absolutely bamboozle you. He'd do a fast one, he'd do a short one, he'd do one just over the white line. He would bamboozle you. And then he still went, when it was 2 serves, he completely changed his game. He realized that he had to almost let people topspin a lot more than necessary, because when you're serving, you're in control, and when you're not serving, you're not in control. But Vaughan meant, I don't know how he did it. 2 serves, 5 serves, he always did it. Terry, what's your view? 2 serves, 5 serves, how did it affect your game?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's psychological more than anything. For me, it messed me up, that and the ball, but that's definitely the 5 serves, because I think that you get into a rhythm. It's almost like playing tennis and having alternate serves. You know, if you've got someone like who was the Yugoslav that had the unbelievables? Sorry? Ivanisevic, sorry.
Goran.
Yeah, so you imagine if they did that with tennis, it would ruin that kind of the rhythm, because you get into a rhythm when you've got 5 serves. When you've got 2, it's almost like you're shitting yourself that you're going to serve off, or you're going to serve half long, or make.
That's if you're depending on serves. That's if you're really depending on your serves.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Interesting though, with tennis, it could be. I mean, tennis is great, so I don't think they need to change it. But tie break is totally different than when you're serving on grass, for example, and you can't get anyone to get a break. It could actually make it more exciting, couldn't it? But
Definitely.
as a player, yeah.
I think that certain things need to change to make table tennis a little bit more interesting. Whether the 5 serves, I'm biased. I don't think that's probably necessary. But if I look at the game now, I look at Liam and watch these guys. Don't get me wrong, they have amazing rallies. But then when I look at Douglas, I watched a video of Douglas last night against George Baum in that. Ridiculous, some of the shots they were playing.
Yeah,
the rallies.
Desdin Nuno serves. Desdin Keba. Darius, what's your view?
Obviously, when the Super Bowl came in 2001, I was 11 years old, just when I just started playing table tennis. So I think I probably had 1 or 2 tournaments, and I lost and cried home to my mum. So, you know, I would say that 2 serves is
that's
obviously...
no 50 Cent action, mate. Come on.
Yeah, but 2 serves for me obviously is great, because you have to just be a better player. I think you've got to use your brain a bit more. You got to, I used to bring out a long serve either at the start of the game or at the end of the game. Bring out my secret serves. I can do reverse. I can do some good chop and floats. I think I had decent serves, not so out there like Gareth Herbert or Terry's or whoever's, but they were secretly decent. So for me, is that 2 serves is great. It's better for the spectators. It's better for you have to be more consistent, a better player, and generally in depth, because you can lose. So I mean, for me, is that 2 serves is a way forward. It's less boring. Imagine TV watching somebody just missing serves. I mean, I heard stories like when Gareth was playing, a guy called Cheatham Babor, like he was returning and hitting the bloody, scoreboards and stuff like that. You know what I mean? The next player closest to that was a guy called Kenta Matsudaira. He had like these kind of tomahawk serves, and they were crazy as well. And I've seen Peter Corbell just return them all over the show. So I mean, for me, is that 2 serves just makes you a bit more focused. You need a bit more balls. And it's a bit more entertaining. You just got to use it at the right time. So for me, I'll always say 2 serves is better. But
ping pong is the ping pong world championship. Is that 2 serves?
2 serves, yeah, 2 serves. Mm-hmm. Double point. That's the best thing ever created right now. Is the double point. I love it. And obviously, Juice just straight away. Juice just I think it definitely changed the dynamics in the game. But
it's
Brian
paying you money.
Brian Jenkins. Does 2 serves mean that you've got to be obviously more balanced in your serving and your returning, whereas 5 serves, if you're a really good server, you'll always have the edge. Where with 2 serves, does it mean you've got to be more balanced if you're serving and returning?
Yeah, I think it does. I think probably different to the guys where serving was a prominent part of the game. Mine was about returning, variation, rallying. So it didn't. I enjoyed it being up to 11, 2 serves each. Shorter games. As the table tennis fan, I thought 21 was too long watching the game anyway. So playing it, it was weird at the start, but we got there in the end. Like the other rule changes, you adapt, you format tactics to suit your game, and I suppose you have a strategy over a match, when to serve short to the forehand, when to serve long to the backhand. You formulate that during the match. So I think it was a good thing for the sport anyway, watching it, because even now I find it difficult to watch a full match. So you watch when it's 7, 8, 9, then you sort of switch to watching it properly. I think 10-all should be 1 point and that's it.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good move.
Okay, because the tennis scoring system is genius. God knows where someone got 15, 30, 40 from, you know. Why 15, 30, 40? Why not 15, 30, 45? But it works, you know, because people are always on edge. So one word answers, 21 or 11. Terence Young?
21.
You're so selfish, Terry.
11.
Jenkins? Darren Blake?
11.
Darius Knight?
11.
Gareth Herbert?
11.
Oh, 11s have it.
Sky?
Our final, well, whatever balances it up.
Oh my God, such a political answer.
Final,
you know you don't want to answer that.
I'm just doing it to wind up Darius. Our final topic is changes to the game that will make improvements. So I wanted to speak about this double point that Darius keeps going on about. Could we incorporate the double point into, let's call it, serious table tennis? We know they do it at the ping pong championships, and Darius Knight gets very excited by the boom, double point, or whatever they do. Terence, would the double point help?
I mean, I've got my own philosophies on what could maybe change a bit.
Yeah,
But,
what could change in general as well?
my personal opinion is the double point's not a bad shout, but it's not going to do anything for the game. Let's be honest. It's 1 point. There needs to be some erratic changes to make things. I heard Johnny Cowan speak on this, that they're going to try and follow a bit more of the tennis, in the terms of the way that they like the Grand Slams and things like that, which I kind of like the idea. I also think that maybe following, not necessarily the point system, but I think they need to change a little bit around that. The other thing is the rallies, which cause big issues. So I spoke to Darren about this the other day. I don't know if he was paying any attention, but
No, I probably heard you.
So I was thinking that now predominantly table tennis has been dominated by the Chinese. Now the Chinese use their tacky rubber, which is pretty much the only country in Asia. China are pretty much the only country, even in Asia, to use that like Hurricane with the blue sponge. We tried to use it over here. A few players have tried it. I've tried it. We just can't get used to it. And I think it's just the way that their game, the way they've been brought up. But also another thing that they have, which is a huge advantage, because it's so tacky, when you serve short, their control around the net is really good and it's a lot easier. Now, I was thinking that if you had to serve long or half long, anywhere on the table, and the first ball goes back to the backhand side, and then you play the rally out. So you serve half long or long, anywhere on the table, the first top spin or whatever you do, chop, goes back to the backhand side from the server, and then you play the rally out. What that will do is that will open the points up a bit.
And it will also make Liz Pitchford #1 in the world.
Yeah, literally.
No, but what I'm saying is the Chinese dominate a lot of they've got such good control around the net, and they're so good at keeping it short and tight, and you're scared of their attack. But I think what it will do with table tennis is it will teach you to control the ball a lot more. If someone gets in and top spins, you'll have the control because you know that someone's going to get in first, and then you play the rally out. So you can control it. So you serve half long or long, someone top spins it in, comes into that corner, and then you play the rally out. Gareth
Herbert. Double points and much more. What's your views?
I like Jenks' idea. 1 point from deuce. I like that. I would say, personally, for me, the area that we grew up playing, I'd say any rule that brings the defender back. So where we had Matthew-Side, Matsushita, Shibatani, for me, they were much more defensive-minded. So automatically more rallies just because of their...
You forgot the greatest defender of all time.
Sorry?
Who was that? You forgot the great... Not Chen. Chen wasn't the greatest defender of all time.
Who's
John Hilton.
Lee Gun Sang.
No, Hoosie Yuk.
Who lost to Schwarzlager in the final of the...
Juicy Hook.
Hoosie Yuk.
Terry took him out. He did. But
Thanks,
yeah,
bro. Yes, mate.
Damage.
Wow.
Terry used to be all defenders,
Unbelievable.
man. Terry
he
used
didn't
to
though,
smash,
did
man.
he? Rose
You know
Bowl,
what?
Rose Bowl, lost to
I probably-
Chirica.
I probably beat the best defenders and lost to some right well, not numpties, because they're about 30, 40 in the world,
Geeks. You lose to some geeks.
but geeks.
I mean, you
No,
used,
I
to,
actually-
watch
I
Tell,
actually
you used to
beat-
watch Tell play Matt, and it was outrageous.
Yeah.
Couldn't
I
get
tell you
close
what,
to it.
there's
Anyway,
two,
Gareth.
there's two
Gareth is
sporting
gonna-
certainties, right? Liverpool are going to win in football and Terry will beat the Chopper. That's the two
Yeah.
Gareth is going to
certainties in sport.
continue where we left off. Gareth.
Yeah, so I just think any rule that brings defenders back. I think when they no coach in their right mind is really going to coach a player from scratch to be a defender, because to make him a top player is almost impossible. You might have the sort of Asian players like the Osi Hook and and players like that, Chen Wei Sing, etc. and so forth. But that comes down to
Why is that, Herbie? Because when you think when Matt was so strong, there was glue. Everyone was hitting pretty rockets, weren't they?
Yeah, no, they were hitting the ball hard, but you got less spin, you got bigger ball. All the rule changes aren't helping Choppers. So
Yeah.
there was a longer pimple as well, weren't they? They shortened the length. Of
Yeah, they
pimple.
changed the pimple rule.
All the rules actually was against defenders. Well, actually, I would go the other way. I'd make every rule in their favour. So it's actually attractive to be a defender.
They used to be great to watch, and then Matt was unbelievable.
The best player I've ever seen to watch. Without
Listen, if you would have seen Matt in the Czech Open, that was some of the best table tennis I've ever seen.
Hmm.
I mean, he beat you and Terry's favourite player. Apart from Vortner, who's your
Marv
favourite player? You and Terry.
Marv Enger.
He beat Marv Enger.
I watched him against Swedish Open. Remember that, Terry? His match against Marv Enger was just outrageous.
I saw him beat.
I
I saw him beat Pearson at the Olympic
Yeah.
qualifications.
The best match I've ever
That
seen.
was that was a joke. And
But if you think-
Pearson was no fool against defence.
When he played a young Wang Lichin. He's only about 19, probably Wang Lichin, but still an unbelievable player. And Wang Lichin played so stupidly, but he was just so good. He won this one at 19 in the fifth, Wang Lichin, and he attacks every ball. What a
Anyway,
match.
keeping on topic, thank you for all the reminiscing. Jenks, double points. Any ideas? What's your view?
Yeah, I think Deuce is just play 1 point at 10-10 would be a good move. I think some of the things I know I'm going back here, some of the things we forgot about is the arm. Remember the arm rule? Didn't mention that one.
Fucking all
Sky.
these rules screwed me.
I know, all the arm,
You're a dirty character, Terry.
I've just screwed you, Sky.
Yeah.
But it was
Mate,
funny
all off.
because I remember being at a tournament and the coach telling me that they're bringing in a rule where you can't hide the serve, and he was coach of one of the Baltic nations, and he said to me, "Vortner is finished." because Vortner was the king at hiding it. Yeah, he said Vortner came back, said, "Yeah, you can have a look. You still can't get it back." You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
there
I think
is
hang on, I am
double
finished.
points.
Yeah, I am finished. Yeah, I think they should
Oh,
do without
let Darius, stop butting in. Let Jenkins finish. Go on, Jenks.
timeouts. I don't like timeout. I think they should do without timeouts. I don't think they're very good at all. So yeah,
I like the timeout, I do.
no, I don't like it. I also think that you shouldn't be allowed any coaching during a match. I think the players should play against each other
Yeah.
and then coach them afterwards or coach them in the stands. But two players should play. You got coaches on the side clapping and shouting instruction. I don't think that should happen.
Cheating up.
Michelle Goodell.
They should have had timeouts in Youngie's era, just so his opponents could get medical.
Medical time.
I never gave anyone a slap at table tennis.
They were saying,
Timeout.
just in the car.
Timeout. I need a bandage.
Milan Stencil nearly had his
Darius.
head ripped off.
Do you remember that?
All right. Darius.
Yeah, what's the question?
You are the king of. You are championing this double point. You absolutely love it. You use expletives when you talk about it. Would you have it in the main game?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, like you said, like Gareth said about it brings the underdog back into the match, you know. So I don't know if I would have it in professional table tennis because I do like the way our table tennis is, but I think, like Jenks said, 10 or no juice and advantage. I think that's really cool and interesting. That's one that I would definitely have to introduce because it makes just the games a bit more tighter, makes it a bit more up and down. That'd be one. Double point. Yeah, why not try it for a season? Why not try it for a season? I just think it makes people think more. I agree about not having the coaching in the match. I think, you know, watching tennis is so beautiful to watch it. Just watching two players go at each other. Who's got their brain? You know, you're playing at such a high level anyway. Why do you need someone in the corner? Why do you need someone shouting to you A, B, C, D? You should be able to think that and discover that yourself. So I mean, for me, the big short change, just take out the juice and advance, just 10-all, you know, go from it. And then obviously the longer term is maybe introduce the double point and maybe some Pro Tours, you know, maybe some lower level Pro Tours, and see how that goes.
Darren?
Yeah, for me, it's I agree with that coaching thing because that would make a difference. But for me, I think you need some more options.
What about double point? What's your opinion on the double point first?
I think the double point would make a difference. Double point is good, but I think you could have it at certain times. I think you need changes in general, depending on the event. So if you look at all the sports, yeah, you look at cricket, they've had to bring in lots of different formats of the sport. T20, yeah, is for example, massive now compared to Test cricket. Yeah, they've had to change it up. They got T20 specialists. They got different players and playing in totally different ways depending on what event they play. Same with tennis. You got clay court tennis. You got grass tennis. You got hard court tennis. Everyone's got to adapt their game depending on what, and it makes it exciting. You got Nadal winning every clay court, but then when he won grass, everyone was amazed. You know what I mean? That's what you need in table tennis. It might be a bigger ball in one tournament, a smaller ball in another tournament. Or it might be different bats. You know, I know they tried in the US to bring out hard bat versus normal, but that's what I think you need more. Well, and then you could have tournaments where defenders could come back in, things like that. I think you need to change it up a bit more, and you need to have different specialists at different parts of the game. And I think it'll be more interesting for people to watch. And you'll find a format like T20, like Wimbledon. You'd find a format that everyone would love, and that would be how you grow it. But unless you trial with stuff, you're never going to grow the game. You know, that's if people kept with Test cricket. No one will be watching it now, but like my kids would go and watch every T20 game going now, where they'd never go and watch a Test cricket match. You know what I mean?
One word answers. Double points, yes or no? Gareth Herbert?
Yes.
Oh, well, in the professional game?
Yeah.
Okay, Darius
It
Knight?
makes it a bit more exciting, doesn't it? You know, for
Darius Knight?
the viewer, it does.
Yes.
Terry Young?
Yeah.
Darren Blake?
Yes, in some tournaments.
Ryan Jenkins?
Yes.
That's a full house. So are we going to lobby the Table Tennis England, as they're called now, and say we want double points?
What about you, Sky? You're going to be awkward.
Well, I'm just going to go and try and balance it out. Actually, I can't, so I'll just go with you, yeah.
I think, just a quick point. I hadn't even, what Blakey just said actually makes quite a lot of sense. I don't really agree with everything he says because he normally talks nonsense. Yeah, I don't agree with hardly anything he says, but I've never even thought about it like that, to do a mix of events throughout a year. Like I said, different floors, maybe slightly different rules.
Height of net.
Yeah,
maybe higher net. But I do. I'm just being honest. I do think that maybe to try something like what I said, where you serve half long out or long, and someone top spins the first ball into that corner, and then you play the point out. I think what it will do, it will open up the game a bit. I think it's worth trying. You know, I'm not saying that it's a definite work, but
again, as an option, isn't it? Yeah.
As an option, I think what it will do as well, it will give the people that haven't necessarily, because I didn't really didn't have a particularly good block or that, but what it does, it teaches you to have a good block, because you've got to put the ball on the table. So I think that will help generate more rallies.
I think we're all in agreement that we should maybe have some test events where you try out stuff like Darren said, you know, to try and take the game forward.
Yeah, I think every sport got different style players, haven't they, when you think about it? And like Herbie said, defenders are going out, for example, so do something to bring them back in. Even at football, you got defenders, you got attackers. You know, at cricket, you still got players who can play Test cricket, but then you've got now guys who are just hitting rockets, and they're bringing out the 100 now as well, aren't they? So you adapt the game so that everyone's got a chance in different events. Then you become specialists and stuff, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I did hear a little while ago that they were talking about taking table tennis out of the Olympics because of the Chinese domination. I don't know how true that was. But it's not that I've got anything against China, because they're amazing. They're amazing. And obviously they've got a huge following in table tennis. But I do think if we're going to be able to compete at the big events, and everyone give themselves a chance, they need to change some certain things, because it's no coincidence that China use a particular rubber throughout their system, and no other country can use it for whatever reason, and it seems to have a big impact. I have no question about that.
Guys, last question is that I want you to give me, right, the biggest thing that's been the change in table tennis, or something that would be good for table tennis. So what, in your opinion, has been the biggest change, or give us something that you think should be changed. So Ryan Jenkins, you go first. What's the biggest change or something that you would change?
I think the biggest change is the scoring system from 21 to 11.
Darren Blake?
You're talking about ever or in the last 30 years?
Last 30 years.
Last 30 years. I would say...
Shall I get a pillow?
The stopping of glue, I would say, for me.
Darius?
I'm going to be very different and just go that I think there should be one tournament where men and women play together. I watch it when men and women play together. And just stick it in there. Men and women play one tournament all together, mixed.
Men and women play together and stick it in there. Is that what you said?
Or stick it
Ryan Jenkins, this is a family show.
That's what he
Don't
said.
bring your Welsh jokes to this platform. Thank you, Darius. Terence?
Yeah, the biggest change, obviously, I think, is the scoring, the 21 to 11. But yeah, before that, the rubber change, where the black, the change in the
that was 40 years ago.
Yeah,
Gareth?
That's why I asked, because hardback versus rubbers in general was a massive change, wasn't it?
Gareth?
I would bring back, I'll reverse it. I'd bring back the longer pinballs for defenders, so we can start, giving them a chance, so we can start coaching defenders again.
Thank you all
raise
for
the net, raise the net.
We're done. Thank you all for watching The Void. Thanks to Ryan Jenkins, Darren Blake, Gareth Herbert, Terence Young, and Darius Knight. Tune in again to watch some more topical chats on The Void. Link Sport. Link, share, play. Thank you for watching.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys. See you later.
Guys.